This evening is another section of MeDent. So I'm sure everybody is ready with the book and the pen for us to start the lesson. So as you see on the board, we have the introduction to government. At the end of the lesson, these are the objectives that we need to achieve. First of all, we have to know what is government. 2, know the functions of government. 3, to know the reason why we study government. Someone will ask, what is government? And I know most students will say government is the president ruling with the executive, the judiciary, the legislatures, and all these people ensuring that things are done in the country for a smooth run of the country. But by the end of the lesson, I'm sure you'll be able to understand what government is all about. And again, scholars are not able to define what government is all about. But government can be grouped in 3 phases. So, like I said earlier, no one can define what government is all about. Government has been defined in 3 main groups. 1, government as the institution. 2, government as an art of governing. 3, government as an academic field of study. As I move on, we are going to deal with them one after the other. So the first thing that I'm going to do or talk about is what to call government as the institution. Now I continue. Government is the institutional structures set up to administer a state. These institutions become the instrument through which the will of the people is achieved. Someone will say government is basically for nation. No. Institutions are also there to administer what they are supposed to do in an organization to ensure that the will of the people are achieved. Example, an NGO organization, there are certain policies, there are certain procedures, there are certain rules and regulations that they are supposed to grab, that they are supposed to understand in order to run the organization. So, governments can be defined as an institution in the sense that these institutional structures are set to administer the state. And at the end of it all, it's going to help to achieve the will of the people. Okay, so I continue. Now, government as an academic field of study. This is basically for students, for peoples, those who are schooling. Now, it is a broad subject or a broad course in SHS that you are supposed to learn. Now, basically, this is what you need to understand before you can start the government as a course. Now, government as an academic field of studies, I continue. It can also be defined as an academic field of study of how a state is administered. It can also be said to be the study of various institutes of government. Now, as a student, you are in SHS and you are learning or appreciating the course government, you'll be able to understand how the state is being run. Again, you can also understand what constitutes the government. Is it about the police? Is it about the army? Is it about the executives? Is it about the judiciary? What goes into government? It is not only about the president signing a document. It is not only about passing a law. It is not only about producing social amenities to the people or to the citizen, but you need to understand the process. You need to understand the procedures. You need to understand how the state is being governed, how the state is being administered, and what constitutes the government. To the third point, government as an art of governing. Now, this is bringing out to our field. When I say field, it's talking about what is going on in a country, in a state, or in a nation. How is the country run? How is the government being run? How are these policies, the procedures are being administered? So government can also be defined in this section about how it is being governed. Now let's go to the definition. It is defined as the institution established in the state to manage the affairs of the state. In examination, they can ask you, what is government? As an act of governing. This is the definition that you're supposed to give it to them. And the definition simply means it is an institution that is being established in a state to manage the affairs of the state. And who are those people who manage the affairs of the state? Basically, they are made up of three: the executives, the judiciary, and the legislature. Now, these people are very important organs in the state that ensure that the state is being run as expected from a nation or from a country. Functions of government. Now, I will ask a student, what is the function of government? Because the student did not really appreciate what government is all about, a student can give you an answer that will even marvels you. Now, from here, you'll be able to understand the functions of government. What are they supposed to do? What is the essence of the government? What are they doing for the citizens? This is what you're going to talk about, functions of government. I continue. Now, they ensure the enactment of laws. As I read it is the responsibility of the government to make laws in the state to ensure peace and harmony. Laws regulated the behavior of individuals in the state. The legislature, arms of government, enacts or passes laws in the state. The laws are there to shaping the behavior of a citizen or the individual in the state. And who are those people who make the laws? They are the legislature. Now, they enact and then pass the law in the state. Now, the law will not just come into being. There is a bill that is being passed in parliament to go to a lot of procedure, and the government will, the president will sign, and now it will become what you call what? A law. So one functions of the government is for the enactment of what? Of a law. And this law, the basic reason for making these laws is to ensure peace and harmony in a state or in a nation. Let's continue to the next point. Now, maintaining law and order. Now, let me bring your mind back to our normal life that we live. Now, assuming that you are in your home and there is a conflict, there is a clash between two people, there is a misunderstanding, and they started fighting. Now, there are people who are supposed to ensure that law and order is being what? Maintained. You cannot just take the law in your own hands and do whatever thing that you want. That is why the government is there to ensure that there is peace in the country. The government has put in place an institution are there to make policies, and there are armies and courts to compel citizens to obey their laws, means to guide and regulate the activities of the people. Now, assuming that there is no policies to govern a nation, think about what will happen. Chaos. Someone will just move to someone's room, kill without any punishment. Assuming that there is no police to maintain law and order, just imagine what will happen to our nation, our country, or the state. Now, these governments are there to maintain law and order. Like you said earlier, the organs of government are the executive, the judiciaries, and the legislature. Now, judiciary people are what you call the judges, the court, and those people. Now, what did they do? If you do something that is contrary to the law and order in a state, you are going to be sent to the court, and the court will deal with you as it is supposed to. So, these governments are there to maintain that law and order. That is why they are saying that no one is above the law. No matter who you are, no matter the money that you have, no matter the level of your education, no one is above the law. So these governments are there to maintain law and order. There are policies there, there are armies there, there are courts there. What are they supposed to do? To compel the citizens to obey the law. If these things are not there, I don't think there will be peace. I don't think there will be harmony. Everybody taking the law in his or her own hands, doing whatever thing that he or she wants. What will happen? Conflict, chaos. So government is making us understand that their function is to maintain law and order. Good. Now let us go to the third point. Governments are there to defend the country. Someone will ask, how can the government defend the country? Very simple. And as I read, the government needs to defend the country and its citizens against any internal or external attacks. The armed forces, namely the army, the navy, the police, and the air force, protect the citizen against aggressions. Now, there was this man who was a citizen of America. Mistakenly, Kosovo, hijacked or kidnapped these American citizens in a ship. What are they trying to do? They wanted to get an information from that American citizen. But God being so good, the president of America, the time of Barack Obama, had this information. And because the government was there to protect the citizen, what he did was he went to Kosovo, meet the president, talked to him, and told the president to release that citizen. What are they doing? They are protecting the citizen. They believe that the citizen is an asset to them, not a liability. An asset that will bring money, an asset that will ensure the progress of the country. The government are supposed to protect us internally. And which people are there to protect us internally? The police. Because they are within the country. They are supposed to maintain the law and order, protect the citizen in the country or the state. Now, which people are there to protect us from external attack? The army, when you talk about the air, the navy, talk about the sea, the air force, both the air and then the sea. Now, these people are there to protect the citizen. So it is the duty of the government to protect the citizen. It's not the duty of a citizen to protect a citizen, but it's the duty of the government to protect the citizen. But bear in mind that it is we, the citizen, that makes the government. Assuming you are being put in a place, assuming in the police department, what are you there to do? To protect the citizen. Assuming you are the chief of the army, what are you supposed to do? You are supposed to protect the citizen. So we, the citizen, make the government. So indirectly, we are supposed to protect the country. And which people make up the country? It is we, the citizen, that makes up the country. Good. So like I said, first we said enactment of the law. Second, maintain law and order. Third, defend the country. Now let's move on. The fourth point, provision of social amenities. It is the duty of the government to provide social amenities for its citizens. The major social amenity service the government should provide includes educational facilities such as schools, medical facilities like hospitals, infrastructures, development like roads. It is not that those private individuals who are supposed to provide these social amenities. Fine, they are doing so, but the major responsibility of the citizen is to enjoy that social amenities. But it is the government who is supposed to provide these social amenities. Assuming there are no schools in this country, are we going to get educated people? Are we going to get elite people? No. Assuming that there is no hospitals, there's no clinics, and people are getting sick, many will die. Assuming that our roads are very bad, accidents will occur. But it is the duty of the government to provide the social amenities to the citizen. And these social amenities are going to help the individuals to enjoy or to live a standard of life in the country. The fifth point, with no explanation, provision of economic activities to the country. Basically, you're talking about ensuring that the inflation rate, the goods and services are being provided for the citizen to enjoy and to have a high and a quality life in the country. Formulation and implementation of policy. Let me just stress more on this one. Some time ago, our president, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, he was nearly influenced by the American president in order to legalize gay. The mere telling of the president to legalize gay, it is not an issue. But the issue is, will that one become a law or a policy in the country? Before a law can come, it starts from a bill. Before a policy can also come, it has a laid down procedure that it needs to go through. Assuming that the president want to pass or bring a law that the SHS people should go for 4 years, the mere saying of the 4 years is not a law, but it needs to go to the parliament, debate upon it, become a bill, signed by those people in parliament, sent to the president, and the president has to endorse and sign before it can become a law. But it's not all bill that is being sent to the president are being signed. You have to know that. Assuming that they pass a bill in the parliament, it is not going to favor the citizen. The president can opt or can reject by not signing, and it will never become a law. So these people are there to formulate and implement these policies and laws in a country. Without them, no one can implement or formulate any policies in the country. As a citizen, as a student, you need to understand that the government are there to provide you these things. And as I go back, they are there to provide you with these social amenities, to enact law, to maintain law and order, and to defend the country. So it is not the responsibility of the citizen to do that, but it's the responsibility of the government to provide all these things for the citizen. Let's continue. Now, why do we study government? Someone will say, I want to study government so that I become a politician one day and chop some of the money. Wow, that's really nice. Or spend some of the money. It's good though. At least if you know what goes, the nitty-gritty and the integrity of government, you will do a free, fair government or politics that will bring you money. It's good. So those political science people, they passed through this government course before they were able to get to the university in order to study political science. It's good. So why do we study government? As an SHS student, why do you study government? Do we study government in order to pass our examination? Do we study government in order to become a president in the near future? Do we study government to pass for our parents, for them to be happy? No, there is a reason why you need to study government as a course in SHS. To be specific, general as students. Now let's move on. By the end of this lesson, I'm sure you'll be able to understand the reason why we study government. Now let's continue. Now the first point is to understand the processes of governance. General students, you need to appreciate the course government, because it's not everybody who understands how the country is being governed. You can ask a science student, how is the country being governed? Maybe you will tell you need to add protons to electrons to neutrons to atoms, and then you get, no, we don't do that. It is a general student that will understand the processes of governance. The study of government as a subject helps individuals to understand the processes of managing the various functions of the organs and to appreciate the various political systems involved in ruling a country. Assuming that you're not a government student and someone comes and tells you, so, oh, I just heard from the radio that the government, the president is saying that from now onward, SHS is going to be 5 years. As a government student, will you agree to what the person is saying? No. You just ask yourself, is it a law? Is it a policy? What is it? Because you cannot just stand up and then come and tell us that from now onward, SHS is going to be 5 years. No. There are certain procedures that need to pass through. You can't stand there for a science student to come and tell you that the executive, they are there to implement law and order. No. You have to know the organs of the government. Like you said earlier, the organs of the government are three. They are the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature. You have to know the functions of them. The Electoral Commission, where are their stands? Are they executives? Are they judiciaries? Or are they legislatures? You have to know. Nobody can come and feed you with all these things. So we study government for us to know how the country is being run, how the country is being governed. Because if you understand, you'll be able to know how it is being governed, the things that the president will be doing, the things that the ministers will be doing. You understand, because that is how it's supposed to be done. And know the various political system. Is Ghana practicing two-party system? Is Ghana practicing one-party system or multi-party system? A mere naive person who doesn't understand government will tell, hey, Ghana, we have 3 political parties. So what does it mean? As a government, so you should understand that if you have more than 2, it is a multi-party system. So you'll be able to understand the processes of managing the various functions of the government or the organ, and to appreciate the various political systems involved in ruling a country. I'm sure you're understanding it. Good. Let's continue. The second point. Participation in government. Good. Now, I can pinpoint, I can tell you directly that those people who are involved in politics, most of them are lawyers, most of them are government students or general students, because they really understand the process of governing. And if you understand something, that is very good. That is whereby you participate in it because you really understand the thing. Now, the study encourages people to take active part in the governance of their country. This is because people get to understand the art of governance, so that they are being motivated to get involved in the political process to help better the lives of their people. Assuming that you did government, you understood the concept of government, you went to the tertiary institution, you did a political science. Now, because you understand what goes into government, because you understand the process of governing, you'll be forced to understand, so, oh, then the citizens are being maltreated. I need to come out, fight for the citizen. You cannot tell me that someone who doesn't understand government will enter into politics. It is never done anywhere. If you understand, that is whereby you participate in the government. So point 2 is telling us that it encourages people, it motivates people who will be able to understand the integrity, understand the processing, for them to be motivated, for them to involve themselves in this political process to help better the lives of their people. So we don't really study government to pass exams, but we also study government for us to participate in government. Assuming that what they are doing to you is very bad. Let me give you a practical example. Now, in Ghana, if you're not 18 years, you're not supposed to vote. It is in the constitution. Assuming that they come and tell you, so no, you are 18, you cannot vote unless you be 19. No, government is telling us that our fundamental human right, the right to vote, is telling us that if anybody is above or is 18, the person can vote. Nobody can come and tell you, so no, you can't vote, because you really understand and you are participating in the government by voting someone to come to power and rule the country or the nation. Let's go to the third point. Now, acquisition of knowledge. Someone will say knowledge is power. Yes, indeed, knowledge is power. Knowledge is fetching people a lot of money. A government student and a science student can be standing and arguing about political issues. I don't expect a science student to overtake a government student. No, it's never done anyway. Because once you study government, you should also be able to acquire the knowledge in governance. It builds your mental development of people through the logical analysis of issues. You should understand what goes into government. This, when you understand, you are doing what? Acquiring knowledge. When you acquire knowledge, you'll be able to interpret certain issues. You'll be able to interpret certain governmental problems. You'll be able to interpret certain political issues. It is not all political issues that can be interpreted by a science student. No. But when you study government, it helps you to acquire knowledge in order to interpret any logical analysis issues, and also to develop your mind mentally in order to able to understand or to enlighten people about certain politics. So it's not basically about learning government to pass exams, but again, it also make you to acquire knowledge. Some students are therefore considered or have a passion of becoming a politician one day. Who knows? Because the person has really understood what government is all about. Now, it also helps to learn about the pattern of government. How is it being governed? What is the steps? What are the procedures? What goes into it? You know the pattern. On which stage are they going? From first stage to the second stage, how it's been done. So when you learn government, you'll be able to appreciate the pattern of the governance. It also helps you to know the fundamental human rights. They are the legal right that is being given to a citizen to enjoy. Examples are right to life, right to education, right to association, and all this stuff. You have to know your rights. You enjoy certain freedoms. So when you study government, you will to understand all these things. That is why a politician will not sit down for someone, a mere person, to come and just say anything that he wants. No, because that politician has really understood what government is all about. Good. Now, lastly, it stimulates the interest in people. When you say stimulate, it is like an inner instinct that pushes people to do certain things. We have an intrinsic motivation that is within you that moves you for you to get certain interest. Before you can have interest for something, first of all, there should be an attention. The thing will just draw your attention. Then after the attention, then the awareness will be there. Then after the awareness, you put yourself in it to see how the thing will be. Then you develop that interest. So when you learn government, that is whereby it will draw attention. It will create awareness on what goes into government. Then you put yourself in it. That is whereby you develop the interest in moving forward. Government that is being studied in school will also help you to stimulate people's interest. This is just an introduction to government. If you're able to understand the reason for the study of government, by the time we end the book, you will really love the subject and enjoy it very well. Government is never a difficult subject. It's a very cheap subject. It's all about the life issues, what is happening. It's all about the government being governed the things of this country, the state, or the nation. So I'm urging all students, SHS students, to just watch this video, enjoy, and subscribe, and then like the page and join the Zoom and invite people. And I'm sure by the end, you are not only going to pass your government, but you also acquire knowledge. You also know your fundamental human rights, and it will also stimulate interest in people to participate and become a prominent person in the country to fight for people. Thank you very much. God bless you. Enjoy. Bye-bye.